Hello everyone and welcome to another very nice game from the FIDE World Blitz Team Championship. It is Daniil Dubov versus Liren, and it is a clash of world champions. As you guys remember, in 2018 Daniil won the World Rapid Championship in St. Petersburg ahead of some very strong players like Magnus and Hikaru, and Ding is the reigning World Classical Champion. And as you can see, Daniil is a bit higher rated in Blitz than Ding, but they are both in top 10 and they are both incredible players. Now, 3 games were played in the Blitz section of this fine event between these two players. One game was drawn, one game was won by Ding, and one game was won by Daniil. So I'm not going to tell you which one this is, but I know you will enjoy it. So let's check it out. Daniil with white opens with pawn to d4. We have knight to f6 by Ding, knight to f3, d5, and pawn to c4. We have pawn to e6, so the standard Queen's Gambit declined is on the board, and bishop to g5. We have bishop to e7 and pawn to e3. We have castles and knight to c3. So this is the well, as standard as it gets. We have pawn to h6, we have bishop captures on f6, bishop captures, and c captures on d5. E captures, sorry, not e5, e captures on d5, and queen to b3. It would seem that Dubov really likes this move in all of the lines. We have pawn to c6, defending the pawn on d5. And bishop to d3. We have queen to b6, offering a trade of queens, and now Daniil just brings the queen back with queen to c2, put some pressure along this diagonal, although you would much prefer it if the bishop was on b1, for example. So bishop to g4, attacking the knight, and knight to d2. We have rook to e8 and castles kingside. And there is a game, interestingly, that reached this position back in 1991, a game between Zbigniew Jasikovsky and Bjorn Brink-Clausen, where pawn to a5 was played, and that game ended in a draw after a few more moves. But here we have knight to d7, and it is now as of move 13 that we have a completely new game. I always find that interesting when I find a game like from 1991 that had the exact same move moves as a game between two world champions in 2024. These guys were obviously very, very strong and very much ahead of their time. We have rook 8 to e1, and now knight to f8. Pawn to h3 kicks away the bishop, bishop to e6, and pawn to f4. Now you have a very, very strong grip here on the e5 square, and you cannot easily break through this. On the other hand, you do have a weak e3 pawn. At some point, you do want to advance it to e4, but it's going to be hard to do with the d4 pawn being attacked like this. So let's see what they had in mind. We have rook 8 to d8, knight to f3, and bishop to e7, and now queen to f2. Like I said, e4 and this pawn will just be too weak. Here you could even run into some trouble, like captures, bishop to f6, and the pawn is already attacked 3 times. There's no way to defend it. So the time for that has not yet come. We have queen to f2 and queen back to c7. We have knight to e5, grabbing this beautiful square, and pawn to f6, not allowing the knight to remain there. Maybe you could do it, but not in a blitz game with already a minute on the clock. We have knight back to f3 by Daniil, and pawn to c5 by Ding. We have bishop to b1, now saying that he might be interested in some, maybe queen to c2 or somehow queen to d3 and grabbing hold of this diagonal. But we'll see if it's possible. We have bishop to f7 and knight to h4. Ding lost control over the f5 square, so Daniil might be able to get the knight over to f5. C captures on d4. We have e captures and bishop to b4, pinning the knight on c3. Rook to c1, now preparing some nasty discoveries, and queen to d7 by Ding. We have rook, first pawn to a3, attacking the bishop, bishop to a5, and now bishop to d3. And it looks, this looks like a really, really weird move. Why would you move the bishop from b1 to d3? I mean, you of course won't be able to at some point play queen to c2 or queen d3, but with the knight on f8 it just never seems like a good idea. But bishop to d3 actually comes with the threat of just bishop to b5. You attack the queen and the rook, and it's an attempt at winning material against a world champion. So okay, Ding says okay, a6, and now bishop to f5, attacking the queen. queen to d6, and now bishop back to b1. Okay, the bishop returns to the square where it belongs. Queen back to d7, and now king to h1. We have queen to b6, bishop to b6, nicely aligning the bishop with the white queen. And also you can see the reason why Daniil most likely moved the king over to h1. Rook c to d1, defending on d4, and now rook to c8. We have bishop to c2. Again, Daniil with the two move tricks. It seems that bishop to a4 is the plan, just winning material. But it seems that the move is far trickier than one would guess. The best move here would be to play something like bishop to c7, and then if bishop to a4, you always have pawn to b5. But in the game, queen to d8 was played, and this is where the game becomes very, very interesting. We have bishop to a4 attacking the rook, and rook to e6. And here, Daniil could actually get a lot from this game if he finds queen to f3, because it's really not easy defending that d5 pawn. The rook here is already blocking the bishop, and the d6 and e7 aren't really a good fit for this rook, with the knight coming to f5. But in the game, Daniil played rook to d3. He wants to get the rook to g3 and go after Ding's king. Rook to e7, and now knight to f5. We have rook e to c7, doubling up, and now rook to g3, and now bishop to g6. And this is where it becomes really, really interesting. Daniil's position is completely winning here, and his spidey sense was tingling, but was it tingling in the right direction? That's for you guys to decide. Feel free to pause the video and win the game for Daniil while I give you a couple of seconds. So for those of you who were able to do it, congratulations on finding this beautiful combination. And for those of you who just want to enjoy the show, it is rook captures on g6. And for those of you who are wondering, is knight captures on h6 any good? It is the second best move, but it can easily be defended after knight. And by easily, I mean with precise play, not easily to find it over the board with 20 seconds on the clock. From a practical standpoint, knight captures on h6 is a great move. G captures pawn to f5. It seems like you are just crushing black here, but there's rook captures on c3. This somewhat ruins your plans. And after b captures, bishop to c7. And this will just give black the much needed counterplay. For example, f captures, queen to d6, and yeah, the placement of the white king and the rook here is just not optimal. White is still better, but black will, sorry about that, black will very likely hold. Not with 20 seconds on the clock, but like I said, objectively. The move you had to play was rook captures on g6, and the reason being that after knight captures, you will play queen g3. Attack the knight, and once the knight moves, it looks like there's nothing for white here, but now you play knight captures on d5. And this is probably, glimpses of a variation that Dubov saw when he decided to play this line, only not in this particular move order, as you'll see. But now you resign. There's all of these threats. Captures here. If the rook moves, you can just checkmate on g7. The rook is attacked. The bishop is hanging on b6. And let's say you just try to save the bishop. Of course, you can never capture the knight on d5. Capture the knight, bishop to b3 just wins the queen. So let's say you move the bishop, you can play all sorts of moves, but even just a nice knight captures on c7 is enough to win the game. Queen captures, bishop to b3 with check, king to h7, and now knight captures on h6, and you're up 2 pawns. You're just gonna easily win this. The attack is brewing, and especially if you capture the knight, then it's just game over. Like king captures, queen h4 check, king g6, and f5 checkmate. So rook captures on g6 was the way to go. Knight captures second best, but Daniil plays knight captures on d5, which seems like it could transpose into the line that we've just shown, but not if you start with knight captures on d5. Ding finds a refutation. He plays bishop captures on f5. Eliminating one of the stronger attackers. Knight captures on b6, attacking the rook on c8, and now comes the move that Daniil most likely missed when he decided to play knight to d5, and that is rook to c2. This attacks the queen, sacrifices the exchange, but also picks up the knight on b6. So that is, that is a brilliant move. Bishop captures on c2. We have rook captures on c2, again attacking the queen, the bishop nicely defending, and the queen has no way of defending the knight on b6. So queen to e3, and queen captures on b6. And now if you count everything, Ding just has a bishop and knight for a rook, plus, okay, he's down one pawn, but a bishop and knight for a rook is very, very hard to deal with. We have queen to e7, now threatening a checkmate, and knight to g6, blocking the rook on g3. Queen to e8 with check, we have king to h7, and now queen all the way back to e1. You could also start advancing the d pawn, or maybe h4, h5, but black is just better here. We have queen to e1, probably trying to maybe trick him into some knight h4, rook captures on g7, followed by something, maybe you get some sort of a, you know, queen e7 perpetual or something. But Ding just goes for rook capture, queen captures on d4. We have pawn to b4 and bishop to e4. Nicely going after the white king, and there is very little Daniil can do here. He plays king to h2, knight to h4. Now with a triple attack on the g2 pawn, rook to g1 defending, and knight to f5. Going after the rook, we have rook to b3, and now just bishop to d5, and he was in this position on move 46 that Daniil Dubov resigned the game, as there is nothing more to be done here. The rook is hanging, and once you tend to that, a queen captures on f4 is just game over. And even if you try something like rook g3 to maybe give up the rook, just queen captures on f4, and that's it. And if you try to give up the pawn without, you know, without any counterplay, then it's just checkmate. Queen captures with check, king h1, knight g3 check. King has to go to h2, knight f1, a double check from the queen and the knight. And now after king h1, queen captures, queen to h2 will just be checkmate. This is one of the games I really wanted to show you. Like I said, they played 3 games. One was a draw, one was won by Daniil, one was won by Ding, and this one, I believe, was won by, well, this one was a win for both of them and for the audience as well. I've enjoyed it. I really, really hope you enjoyed it as well. That's the game. Hope you guys enjoyed it. Beautiful clash between 2 world champions. I would like to thank the animated chemist, Roger Stone, Robert Aratun, Karl-Heinz Haas, and Martin Georg Paparik for your contribution to my channel. Thank you a lot. I really appreciate it. As usual, you can check 2 of my previous videos here. Thank you for watching, and I will see you soon, continuing to check upon your wonderful suggestions, such as this one, and whatever else happens in the chess world. So thank you all. I will see you soon, and have an excellent rest of your day.